Welcome to It's Happening in Grand Prairie, Texas. We think it's the last of winter and wish it were spring, but we have a wonderful show to bring to you today about a group of people in the state of Texas that have a CEO and a president that really cares about people, and we're so pleased to introduce to you Mr. Robert Carpenter with all of those titles, and about the third time you've been on our television show, but not in 1 year.
It's always a pleasure.
Oh, it's always a pleasure to
Thank you,
welcome
Ruthie.
you back. That's wonderful. And since they don't know you as well as those of us here in the studio do, I want to tell them a few things in your bio that I thought was very, very exciting, because you were acting CEO for the Blue Cross Blue Shield in Michigan, and that's up north where it's cold.
Oh, it is.
Oh,
Yankee
and-
weather.
Yes, and a Yankee, you went to a Yankee School of Administration, the Michigan State University.
Right.
So you had a lot of happenings to you up north of the Mason-Dixon line, didn't you?
I did. That's the reason I left there as fast as I could.
Fast as you could to come to Texas, and it's just been so wonderful to have you as the president and CEO. They started you out as the vice president, I guess, to see if you were going to last.
Correct. It's trial and error.
Trial and error and all of that good stuff. And when we called our main man that we call Robert Smith, I said, Robert, what's happening? He says, I need for you to talk about the nurses. And I said, I have only one thing open, and that's on the 9th day of February, and at 10 o'clock in the morning in Grand Prairie, Texas. And he said, oh my, I can't come and talk to you. I said, send me somebody good like you have in the past. And he said, we're doing it. So I think it's just wonderful that you have established in this many years a very good rapport. And even what I'm so excited about is that you have that volunteer reception for all of those that are volunteers,
Right.
and I get to come and case the joint with you because you give me an invitation
That's
to see
right.
who's done the mighty work there. But today we're going to talk about something new for the nurses. What's the plan for this year?
Well, the plan for this year is a lot of people don't know that the Visiting Nurse Association is Meals on Wheels for
Yes.
Dallas County.
Yes, it is.
But the other thing that's really different this year, we're trying to make sure that every volunteer gets to know how much they mean to the lives of the people they help,
Yes.
and the impact they have on those people's lives. And ways we're doing it is to try and let the rest of the community know that if they can help in any way, these volunteers can do even more, and they can impact even more lives. And we're calling it brown bagging for Meals on Wheels.
Now, isn't that something new?
Well, it's our second year of trying it. The first year was a trial balloon, sort of like my first job with
Yes,
VNA.
yes.
But what we've done is we're trying to make it so that if people will not go out and buy their lunch for a day and then actually contribute that money to Meals on Wheels, it will allow us to feed what an average person spends at lunch. We can probably feed 3 or 4 seniors
Yes.
who are homebound. And the problem with Meals on Wheels is people always have a built-in bias or prejudice about who they think gets Meals on Wheels.
Do you think
And
they think that y'all are dummies?
Yeah, they do. And in general, they think that, well, they judge
Oh, I
about
see.
who should get them and who shouldn't. And unfortunately, Ruthie, you know this yourself. When you were in your 40s and 50s, you didn't expect to be a centenarian. You didn't expect to live to close to 100, did you?
No.
No.
And when I got to 90, I just almost bombed out.
Well,
Yes,
it is,
yeah.
but that's the reality. Most people don't plan
Yeah.
on living into their 80s, 90s, or even their 100s.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens is they outlive their plans, they outlive their resources, and a lot of times they outlive their family members.
Oh.
So what happens is these individuals, they either can't afford to buy food, or they can't afford to go drive and get food into the home, or they have issues with arthritis, diabetes, and other things that are debilitating in their home. They can't stand up to cook. So there's all kinds of reasons now why people need Meals on Wheels, because those individuals, we call them the hidden hungry.
Yeah.
They're not quite prisoners, but they really are homebound and they can't get out. But they want to be in their own home. They don't want to be in an institution. They don't want to be in a nursing facility. They don't want to be in an assisted living center. They want to be in their own home.
Yes.
And all of your Grand Prairie volunteers
Yes.
are the very ones who enable those people to stay at home, have some adequate nutrition and hydration, and they really are making a difference in people's lives.
Yes.
And if we can get this brown bagging for Meals on Wheels to be a
Yes.
community effort, so that that money can be contributed and donated back, then we can feed even more people in the community.
You amaze me in all of the things. Your background is so unusual, and that you became a CPA,
Well,
certified
yeah.
public accountant. That is one of the most challenging jobs in the world.
It is, and usually most people that are CPAs, I find, don't like people.
They really don't.
They like numbers. They like to
Yes.
see how that all fits together.
Yes. Uh-huh.
But I think what's happened in my life is I realized you can use numbers, you can use figures, you can use data to demonstrate to people what a difference different things make in their lives or other people's lives. So that's how my career sort of came together.
Now, I know the visiting nurses are very important too, because what do they contribute?
Well, the current healthcare system, whether we like it or not,
Oh, it's a mess.
is a mess, and it's not going to get better.
Oh, me.
The reason it's not is, again, I'll use you as a personal example. When Social Security came into being, the average life expectancy in this country was 57.
Oh dear.
That meant that they didn't think the average person was going to use it.
Yeah.
When Medicare came into being, the average life expectancy was 65.
Oh.
Well, now, average life expectancy is 78. That means that as a nation, we've added an entire generation
Oh yes.
to the demand side of the equation for healthcare.
And a harder one too, because they're aged.
Right. And I don't know a single person over 65 that has a single medical condition. They have multiple. It doesn't matter whether it's heart, asthma, diabetes, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, dementia. There's multiple things that are problems.
Yeah.
The other part of the current healthcare system, Ruthie, which is the scary part to me, is the current system, whether it be Medicare, Blue Cross, Aetna, Cigna, whatever the insurance company is, the hospitals actually look at patients as a source of revenue for their hospitals, and they are up until the day of the procedure. The day after the procedure, discharge.
Oh.
And the reason for that is...
No lingering.
Yeah, and no lingering or malingering, either way. But what happens is then those individuals are sent home. And a lot of people then, they're sent home, they're still not healed. They may have staples and sutures in them. They may even
Yes.
have ports in them for
Yes,
IVs.
yes,
If you've had a knee replacement, hip replacement, you're going to need therapy. If a woman's had a radical mastectomy, she's had her muscle tissues removed, doesn't know how to dress herself. You've got people that really, if they have an ache or a pain in their hip or their knee, they overcompensate and then have even worse problems.
Yeah.
That's what therapy is needed for. So what's happened is the system is forcing people back home, and they're not prepared to either handle their condition or heal at home, and that's where the Visiting Nurse Association comes in. We send nurses and therapists and aides into the home where the individual wants to heal and wants to get better, and we enable them to do that at home.
Yes.
So that's what the VNA, the visiting nurse, stands for, is going into the home so that people can heal at home.
Well, the others, the ones that do the Meals on Wheels, that keeps them alive on a daily basis. But this other visiting nurses thing you have, that heals the people so that they will one day maybe be able to get back and help themselves.
Yes, exactly.
I just think that is just really wonderful. But you brought two things together that really are for people. but they're so far apart in their nature of what they do for people. It's amazing that you have all of these visiting nurses with multitudes of time spent becoming registered and serving and doing all of this, and then coming back in people's lives at a later time when they're having all these problems.
Yeah, and that, you say the extremes, it's not quite the complete extreme. We consider the home care the middle ground.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, because the other extreme is hospice. And hospice is where somebody is allowed to have their final days with some dignity at home.
Yes.
But they're going to die.
Yes.
They are going to pass away. So what it is our whole mission as an organization is to allow seniors to stay at home and be where they want to be, even if they're hungry and malnourished. That's what the meals does. They want to heal at home and get better, or they want to pass away at home.
Yes.
Every one of our programs is designed to allow a senior to be at home, whether they're hungry, whether they're going to be sick, or whether they're going to be dying. That's where most people want to be.
How did all of this start with one thing, and then you added to it? Tell me a little history.
We've evolved over time. The organization's 78 years old.
Oh, my.
It started in the rail yards around Dallas with purely volunteer nurses who went into the rail yards where so many of the young women in the Depression were having children, and the mortality rate for the children and the women was high.
Yes.
And they went in to give that care. Over time, it evolved into what the community needed most. So we are a community-based, not-for-profit that relies on charitable dollars to give charitable care, and then we earn most of our money through Medicare, Medicaid, and insurance companies, or sometimes private pay, to earn our keep, cover the costs of the organization, and that way any charitable dollars can be purely used for charitable care instead of supporting the infrastructure of the organization.
So it really began with the people, nursing people, at the very first of it, other than taking them food or other things.
We didn't get Meals on Wheels as a true program until the 70s.
Oh, you didn't?
No. And we were the first hospice that Medicare certified in the state of Texas in 1978. So we've been around a long time, but the programs that we do have evolved to meet what we felt was the most pressing need in the community.
But you're coming into so many different doors.
We hope so, but it allows people to stay home. That's the key.
The key. And when you come to them, how do you find these people?
Well, the Meals program, which is, if you want to say, our biggest brand recognition, that's done through state caseworkers and through the Department of Aging and Disability Services, and also through the Area Agency on Aging.
Yes.
They will have requests, and the people are tested for, do they have income? Do they have physical and medical limitations?
Yes.
Do they have any sort of support group?
Yes.
Because you don't really want to feed somebody if you've just got a lazy person in the house. You want to make sure there's a real need.
Real need there.
And then what we do is we also have pure charitable. And what we do is we use the exact same criteria that the state uses, so that if and when the state roles can be expanded or they can answer, we can transfer those people to them, and then free up more charitable dollars for us to give more care.
And what are your sights for the future?
I see the need for Meals on Wheels, Ruthie, actually doubling, if not more.
Yes.
The reason being is, again, everybody's living longer through technology, through medicine.
And they're running out of funds.
They're running out, and the quality of their life is not.
Oh, yes.
I mean, we all want to age, and everybody sort of says, okay, if I had a choice, I want to be fine and die. The problem is, for most of us, there's quite a time span between being fine and passing away.
Yes.
It's that timeline that I think will grow and the need will become greater. And therefore, that's the reason I'm asking your help, and asking Grand Prairie's help, is if you really want to make a difference in people's lives, volunteer in those programs. Make an impact on somebody who's hungry, or somebody who's dying, volunteer to lend a helping hand, and that way you can really impact people's lives.
Now, I know that we have the Meals on Wheels here in Grand Prairie and have had it for a long time. And I don't know how active they are since gasoline is at a premium, since I haven't followed up on my part of it to know even what's going on in Grand Prairie, Texas.
Well, in Grand Prairie, we have 8 routes.
You have 8 routes.
Yeah. It's about 200 people. But of those routes, interestingly enough, we have to pay drivers on 2 routes because we don't have enough volunteers. We have 6 routes that are covered by purely volunteers.
Volunteers, and they furnish their car and their gasoline and their
Right.
time.
Yes.
Yes. 1 day a month?
Some people are 1 day a month, but there are several Grand Prairie volunteers that do it once a week.
Oh. And
Those-
where are your headquarters information on things like that held? At your place? Or
Yeah,
do you
well,
have
you
a
have-
place in Grand Prairie?
No, well, the drop-off site is here at First Methodist Church, downtown. And that's where people pick up their routes. But before we allow them to do that, they have to come into our Meals on Wheels kitchen to see the kitchen, to see how we make the food, how we pack it, and also to undergo a criminal background check.
Oh,
Well, you
Yeah.
don't want to send people into somebody else's home that's already, by definition, vulnerable
yes, yes.
without doing a background check. State requires it, and we actually think it's a good rule.
Yes.
So they've got to be willing to give their social security number, their name, their age, and then that's what we use in the statewide database to make sure, because there's, unfortunately, just like in home care and hospice, there are a lot of bad seeds out there.
Bad seed on that.
And we want to protect our seniors.
Yes. I heard a very sad story yesterday when we buried a young man here in Grand Prairie, Texas. He was actually in his 90s, and he had moved to where his son and their families live. He had one son and moved to Washington State, and they put him up in a place 60 or 80 miles from their home across a bayou, and he had been up there approximately a year and a half, and they had never come to visit him. They took care of moving him where he wanted to go, but I thought that was a very unusual happening, and I didn't dream that there would be people like that would treat their only son and his family and his heirs and all of that good stuff. And y'all are doing a majestic job.
Well, a lot of times we are the proxy
Yes.
for family. We really are. There's a joke that I tell, and you'll get a kick out of this, that if the best health care plan
Yeah.
that any senior citizen can ever have if they're sick is daughters.
Oh, yes.
Because a daughter will try and prove that she's a loving and caring child all her life.
Yes.
The typical son
Flu-lingle. Flu-lingle.
Well, typical son will first of all say, will my sisters handle it? Second, will my wife take care of it for me?
Yeah.
Third, can I hire somebody? And then fourth is
Let
when
them go.
No, the son will say, I need to do something. And it's statistically been proven out that is the way it typically goes. Now, there's always exceptions,
Yes.
but that's the general rule as to how a sick senior citizen
Yes.
can be taken care of. I'm in trouble. I got 3 sons.
Oh,
So whatever happens to my wife and I, we're going to have to take care of it ourselves,
Yes.
or buy somebody or rent somebody to do it for us.
oh, that is good. You've got, at least you have the plan.
Yes.
That is wonderful. Who would be the most logical leader of your work in Grand Prairie at this time?
The most logical one would be any group that has decided we need to do something. We want to make sure that we can own it, we can control it, and we can not just be involved, but really be convicted and committed to it.
How
And-
did
and
the First United Methodist Church get to be the spot where things are delivered?
Combination of three things. Number one, a committed volunteer who would oversee that the site was always available. Number two, you have to make sure that there's a potential to secure the site, because you don't want somebody stealing the coolers and the meals. And number three, it has to be a site that can be generally central to the perimeter of where the routes need to be delivered.
Yes.
Because you have to get them delivered within a very limited amount of time, and the temperature has to be maintained, otherwise we don't pass the health code.
Well, I just see a resemblance to a miracle happening then, because when I found out that the First United Methodist Church is the drop-off, and you have friends there, I want you to know that last Sunday I attended after their services and after my services at my church. They invited me to come. They were dedicating their building free of debt because a majestic lady in their congregation left them $450,000 to pay off their debts for the church building. And she also gave $450,000 for their youth building, and they paid off both entities. And I got to go to the little program that they had, and I thought, how wonderful, now they can do great things. And
Yep.
here I find that they're already doing great things as a drop-off place.
I think that's the thing that a lot of people are missing in their life, Ruthie,
Yes.
is what can I do to make a difference? That woman, evidently, that was the way she could make a difference and impact a lot of other people's lives. And but you've got groups, it doesn't matter whether it's a sorority, a fraternity, a civic group, an employee group. One of the Grand Prairie employer groups may
Yes.
want to say, we need as an organization to demonstrate our commitment. There's all kinds of groups.
Yes.
What they're looking for is, okay, what's the vehicle
Yes.
or the methodology by which we can do something and make a difference? And Meals on Wheels is a way to do that.
What I want you to do now, we're getting down to the end of our time that Mr. Johnson's going to cut us off from the past.
Okay.
So I want you to look out into your camera there. I'm not going to give you the camera, but I'm going to let you use it that says guest.
Okay.
I want you to tell them the excitement of this brown bag thing and when it's going to take effect and who they can call. And if they can't call anyone else, they'll call you.
That's correct.
All right, that's your time.
Okay.
Give me about
Well,
3 minutes.
For all the citizens in Grand Prairie, if you really want to make a difference in the life of a vulnerable senior citizen who is alone and hungry and in need of some companionship, you can do that through Meals on Wheels. You can support it financially for a day. We're trying to pick March the 6th as our brown bagging for Meals on Wheels, because that's the anniversary of when the Older Americans Act was brought into being. So that's just a particular day. But if you can give up your lunch and contribute money to Meals on Wheels, and then send that net check or the gross dollars into the Visiting Nurse Association of Texas, you can go online and make the contribution at www.vnatexas.org. Or if you want to organize brown bags, we have them here for actually brown bagging for your lunch. You can call 214-689-2211, and we'll arrange to send the bags out to you, the collection bag for contributions. But mostly, I'd like you to think about making a difference as a group or an individual to volunteer so that we don't have to pay to have some meals delivered to your fellow citizens in the community. Thank you.
One more time for that phone number.
214-689-2211, and one of our staff representatives will send out the bags for you.
Okay. And I think all of us need to put you on the prayer list, and all of those associations and everything that's happening. And it's been delightful to have you back again. And you just tell Mr. Robert Smith that he is off of the course unless he really gets with the program, because you knew what you were talking about, and you have built a fire under the people in Grand Prairie, Texas, if they'll just watch our show on Channel 16.
I appreciate it, Ruthie. Thank you very much again.
God bless you forever for all of the things that you do for people and for their families and for even for their friends.
It's a privilege to serve.
Thank you. And this is Ruthie Jackson reminding you that it's happening in Grand Prairie, and we hope it's going to happen in a brown bag style like we've never seen before in Grand Prairie, Texas.